for talking loud, and you know plenty. You know what I'm talking about, cause you just get me. Yeah, you so pretty. If everything is dipped in gold, then baby it will never grow. Everything sweet ain't sugar coated. What a lie.
Personally, I believe the fixation on having long hair is directly connected to the subconscious desire to have healthy hair. And I do believe that parents in general, but especially mothers, owe it to their daughters to have healthy hair. But when the constant focus is on length, how does self love, personal image, and health of the hair or condition of the hair get sacrificed within this fixation for it to be long and present a certain way? Let's get into it.
A lot of you guys wouldn't have such bad relationships with your natural hair if your mothers were competent. Why do 12-year-old black children have no hair? Why do 15-year-old black girls have no hair? Why are 16-year-old black girls wearing wigs? Because they don't have hair. What's going on? There's a YouTube video I watched. I'm gonna put a screenshot, but it said, you owe your black daughter's waist-length hair. And I 100% agree with it. You owe your black daughter's waist-length hair. There are so many resources for you to learn how to take care of type 4 hair that you owe them long, healthy, strong hair. And if you can't provide that, don't have kids. The fact that it's normalized for black children to wear wigs is how I know it's too far gone. Like, it's actually insane. When I was in secondary school or sixth form, I kept seeing younger and younger years wearing wigs. Why is a year 7 wearing a wig? Why doesn't the year 7 have hair? Where's her mother? Change of location, but yes, length isn't everything, but when every other girl is running around with long, healthy hair, and you're the only one that has dry, crispy hair that balls up to your scalp that you can't brush, you can't do anything with, you're gonna feel a type of way, and you're gonna build a lot of resentment towards your actual hair.
What's up, y'all? So, you guys saw that TikTok and heard my intro. So, of course, I want to do some commentary in response to what this girl said in regards to black mothers owing their daughter long hair. And so I thought this was an interesting take that she had, because I think that me and her agree on the moral message of what she's trying to convey, but the wording and the focus on the hair being long, I feel like that kind of gets into other problematic areas that actually are an aspect of something that led to the natural hair movement, and that's also being expressed as an issue within the natural hair movement. So I did want to touch on this because there are a lot of nuances to what she's saying. I also wanted to touch on it because I've spoken a lot about how my experience is that my mother kept my hair natural, and I've talked about how I felt about like length and things like that. I did a whole video called Lengthism, and of course I was being tongue-in-cheek with that title. And I'm not like really trying to coin that as like a term, but I do think that conversations regarding quote unquote lengthism are legitimate because there's a lot of historical context surrounding this obsession with long hair. And this is not just a thing within the African American community. This is not just a thing in this time period. This has come up in multiple times in history, in different countries, during different cultures, different religions. A lot of different groups of people have significance to hair length, specifically to women keeping their hair long. So this is a real thing that has been studied ad nauseum, I'm sure, in intersectional feminist research, anthropological research, whatever. So this is like not a new concept. So that's another reason why I thought it was important to touch on this, because a lot of people tend to just dismiss this as just like, oh, this is just like black chicks being worried about who's bald headed or who has hair and who doesn't and XYZ. And I think it's a lot deeper than that. And even for black women in general, women of color in this country in general, but especially black women, there is a deeper layer with the whole long hair thing, because there is an aspect of like texturism that people always want to focus on, but I really do think that the long hair thing actually is the real root of the problem, because in reality, what I observe as somebody who has natural hair my whole life, and I have type 4 hair, but I've had hair that's had both perceptions of being, I've experienced texturism, and I've also had people make weird comments that were supposed to be positive about my hair texture as well. But I've also, at times in my life, struggled with internalized quote unquote lengthism as well. And actually, funny enough, a lot of my lengthism complexes came from the fact that I talked about how I grew up mostly in a Hispanic neighborhood. And mostly in the Hispanic community, actually. And the area that I'm in is mostly like people in the Caribbean Afro diaspora. So most people had hair like me, but you also have a lot of Ecuadorians and Mexicans who were recent immigrants in the early 2000s as well. So a lot of Ecuadorian and Mexican little girls keep their hair long. And again, there's cultural significance to that. A lot of people, parents want them to keep their hair long. That's a very popular thing in Hispanic culture, but mostly in like Ecuadorian Mexican culture, I feel like. Yes, it is a thing in like the Caribbean as well, but I've heard it be more emphasized when it comes to like Central Americans. So I'm only bringing that up because this whole thing about having long hair and stereotyping certain groups as having quote unquote long hair, that can create complexes for people for multiple different reasons. Now, I didn't really have a complex about having long hair because of that. I just had it because little girls just want long hair, and the thing about it actually is that my hair was long, but my mom never straightened my hair. So, when you have type 4 hair and your hair shrinks in, if you're wearing a puff, your hair is always going to look quote unquote short because it's curly. And a lot of, fully black and mixed people have talked about this. When you have curly hair, people of all races will project that your hair is short onto you. A lot of people with curly hair complain about this, and sometimes that leads to kids having a complex. So looking back as an adult, that's really where a lot of my complexes came from, is that I was growing up in a time period where most of the people around me did not have natural hair, so I didn't have a lot of influences and other girls to look up to that had hair, that were wearing their hair like me. And seemingly from my perspective, I really felt like me and my mother were the only people who had hair like this, because everybody else who was black or Hispanic that I saw around me had their hair straight. So to me, I felt very isolated in that as well. So that's where a lot of my stuff stemmed from. But I was never the type of personality who like looked at other girls' hair, or looked at what other people had and thought like, oh my God, I want that for myself, or I'm jealous, or, oh my God, how can my hair get long? Like, if anything, it gave me motivation. Like, well, let me start, getting my regimen up. Let me encourage my parents to buy me all them Tamagotchi so I can have that. You know what I mean? Like, I distinctly remember going to my friend's house and them having toys that I wanted, or having like a bunch of toys because they're an only child or something. And it never made me feel like jealous, like, oh my God, I feel some type of way towards her. She thinks she all that. Like, I never felt that way. If anything, I feel like, well, dang, what can I do to get my parents to give me that many, toys or whatever? You know what I mean? Like, I was that type of person. So if anything, seeing what other girls had, it more so motivated me to try to figure out how I can finesse that for myself or try to, get my money up as I got older for myself. So I'm not saying I never dealt with like comparison, but when I found myself comparing my hair or what I had to other girls, it more so motivated me. So I particularly remember having one friend, she was Ecuadorian, and she had hair down past her waist, almost down to her knees, and she had the cutest little Hello Kitty boots. She was just the cutest little, yeah. So I had those experiences of seeing girls with really, really long hair, but I was more so kind of like happy for them.
This hair looks tiny, but it is actually one of the greatest survival tools in all of human history. This is African hair, and it literally shrinks up to 75% of its actual length. Straighten it out and it can reach your waist. For thousands of years under the brutal African sun, this hair was forced to adapt. Those tight curls create a natural air pocket that shields the scalp from insane levels of heat. Even the strongest flat irons on the market cannot defeat it, because this hair was never meant to be changed. It was meant to protect, and it has been doing exactly that for thousands of years.
Yeah, so a lot of my complexes about my hair length intersect with texturism, and that's a whole long drawn out story. But anyway, my point was also that, yeah, that girl was Ecuadorian, so her hair was very, very straight. So that also brings up an issue too, because our society, it does force girls, especially if they're in the same ethnic group, it does force you to put yourself in a situation. It makes some girls feel like they have to compare themselves. So if you have a bunch of curly head little girls and they're feeling like, oh my gosh, why y'all saying that only having long hair, or if your hair is not past your shoulders, that makes you bald headed or whatever. My hair is kinky curly and it's in a ponytail. I don't even know how long my hair really is. So you got these girls with curly hair or braids in their hair having complexes, and then maybe, you know, they do have a personality type or did experience some trauma where they do maybe have a little bit of jealousy or feel some type of way towards other girls, and then they look at the girls with the super straight hair and they felt some type of way towards them. When the girl with super straight hair, she can't control that her hair is super straight and it grows really fast. You know what I mean? That's just the hair texture they was born with, you know? So, and when you're a little kid, your hair is obviously going to be super long because you're tiny as hell. But you don't see a bunch of adults running around with waist, you know, with knee length hair anymore, because that's just a nuisance, you know? So it's that type of thing too. So yeah, it's the society that projects these feelings onto little girls that teaches them to feel that way. So if you're susceptible to being influenced by that, you will. But people can't control how they're born or their hair length. But anyway, again, after that long drawn out story, my point was that a lot of this stuff about texturism that people talk about in the natural hair movement today, I feel like it's evolved to where the problem is not so much texturism that I observe. It's that the hair is not long, so people don't think wearing it is pretty. Now run with me. I notice on social media, the 4C girlies that have long 4C hair that has a full afro that comes past their shoulders and that looks really like, yeah, like I said, full and long. Those are the type 4C girlies that have a lot of they get a lot of attention just in that space. I see this all over on different platforms. So to me, oh, and another thing is that I see people in the comments or just in general saying like, oh, I could never get my hair like that. Like, how can you do that? Like, I want to wear it like that, but it's not cute. Or I'm trying to do these wash and goes and it's just, no, it's not giving, or it's like too shrunken up. What the problem is a lot of the time is not so much that their hair texture, is that their hair is short and then it's being sucked in because that's what afro hair does. So I think a lot of this has to do with length. And quiet as a kept, a lot of black women would be wearing their natural hair, but I suspect a lot of this has to do with length. People can disagree with me, but that's just what I think. I think that if people were coming out of their weave or wig or perm era or whatever, and they went boom immediately to hair that's past their shoulders, and they could wear an afro that's super full and everything, they will be doing that. But I think a huge part of it is that a lot of people don't want to go through that uncomfortable stage of having your hair at those weird lengths. Like, you know, I've never done a big chop. Well, I've had my hair short, but I've never done a big chop really in the same way, I guess you could say. But anyway, my point is that sometimes when you cut your hair and it's growing back, it looks a little awkward, or you may not style it the way you particularly like it just because you're in a transition phase. So I feel like it's that phase that's like about 6 years or so that a lot of people don't feel comfortable getting with, but that's a growing period. And I'm not the first person to say this, a lot of people have. But yeah, I feel like a lot of this has to do with length. And when a lot of girls are looking at girls who already wear their hair naturally and they're saying, oh, why can't I style it like that? The reason why your style is not coming out like that, or your wash and go is not coming out like that, and you think that it's about the girl's hair texture, is not about her hair texture. It's about how long it is. A lot of y'all wouldn't even be able to tell who has 4C hair, 4A, 4B, whatever the hell, different textures, if y'all were just looking at an afro. Y'all care about how the afro looks because y'all stereotype certain hair textures as not being able to grow and show it as one way, as where, you know, maybe might take you longer to reach that particular goal, but you can still do it. And once your hair is to the length that you're comfortable with and you like, you're going to be able to style it and enjoy it the way that you want. But I feel like people get too caught up in length because people have these complexes about what lengths can grow and you know, what styles can look good on this, you know what I mean? It's just a lot of other things get involved with that process.
I would also appreciate if you like the video and subscribe to the channel if you are not already and the content resonates with you. Welcome, as well as making sure you hit the bell for notifications so you'll be informed every time I upload a new video or go live. I'd also encourage you to check out my Patreon, where you can access old and exclusive content, as well as having early access to new uploads. That will be linked in the description box below.
But yeah, like all that being said, going back to the original TikToker, I feel like the point of what she was trying to say was that as a black mother, you owe your daughter healthy hair that she feels comfortable styling, to where she gets to a point that she can take over her own hair care. She knows how to do it. She's comfortable with it. She likes it. You do owe that to your daughter as a parent, regardless of what you are and regardless of what your kid might be. How they look, phenotypic wise, mixed wise, whatever the hell. That's your responsibility as a parent, regardless, that your daughter knows how to take care of themselves and that you at least try to set them up to have the tools to be able to love themselves. They can take it from there after they get to a certain age, you know? So I think that that's what she was trying to say. But framing it as, oh, you owe your daughter waist length hair, I feel like that's a bit borderline toxic. It's not quite toxic, but it's a bit it's unrealistic, because most non-black girls don't even have hair to their waist. Like, that's not a common thing. The reason why people stereotype Mexicans and a lot of Central American mestiza girls and stuff like that for having long hair is because of that. Like, that's a stereotype, like, you know, and that's how just I feel like, I suspect that that's just genetically how their hair grows, because it's very straight. So because it's straight and very strong as well, and it's very thick, what I notice about like their hair textures a lot of times is that it's very thick, it has good retention, and it also can stay moisturized as well. Yeah, it's a really strong hair texture, and people can think that that sounds weird, but type 4 hair is really strong as well. That's why when you have type 4 hair, and braids are specifically made for type 4 hair, as where white people can't really wear braids like that for a long time, and it tends to be uncomfortable for them because their hair is not made to be able to withstand braids, as where even Central Americans have been known to wear cornrows and braids. Even like the indigenous peoples that were in Mexico and, you know, Colombia and all those areas and everything, those people will wear braids. Same thing in Africa, and I believe it's because they have very strong hair textures. So yeah, I believe that that's why a lot of Central Americans are able to grow their hair very long, and it's particularly very thick. That's why we buy our hair from Asia, because they have similar genetics. We buy our hair from there. We're not buying hair from Europeans. That shit is brittle as hell, dries up in the wind, you got to put powder on it and stuff. No. We want that POC hair, okay? We want that melanin strength, okay? So yeah, that's what I personally think it is. Now, I'm not qualified to make any of these hypotheses. I'm just a bitch on YouTube talking. But yeah, that's my theory. But yeah, like type 4 hair, particularly hair that's in the C and the B range, is very strong. It can withstand a lot. That's why we don't even have to wash our hair a lot, and it really do still be clean. Black people hair don't be smelling like super nasty after like 2 weeks and stuff like that, and we can do that because of our hair texture and things. So there's strengths and weaknesses, or not weaknesses, but maybe things that aren't, you know, the best for your hair based on its hair texture and who you are. And that's why when you know how to take care of your hair texture and how to maintain it and make sure it's healthy, then your hair will grow regardless. It's not about, oh, this group of people has long hair and this group of people can't grow hair at all. It's not about that at all. It's about knowing what works for you. It's the same thing with fitness or any type of regimen or even medicine. They have to cater that to that person based on them. The same medical treatments or the same type of fitness treatments that might work for one ethnicity or one person in the same ethnicity may not work for the same person in another one. So, you know, yeah, I'm not trying to get into that, but yeah, once you know yourself and you know how to maintain your health, that is when you can start doing things like growing your hair super long or building muscle mass or, you know, whatever it is. But yeah, I just feel like framing it as, oh, you owe your daughter waist length hair is kind of like not helpful, because I feel like, me personally, I'm happy with just having like broad strap length hair. It would be great to have waist length hair, but it's like I'm not fiending. So it's like, I mean, she's kind of projecting what she wants, or probably what she felt as a little girl, onto other people. And that's just not a realistic expectation. And going back to what I was saying earlier, kind of about how like people project the narrative like Hispanic girls have long hair. If you're projecting that narrative, and then there's Cardi B's running around, and she's been very vocal about how she struggled to grow her hair because she didn't know how to maintain her type 4 hair at that time. But if you're projecting the stereotype, oh, Hispanic girls got long hair, based on a whole different hair texture, it gets toxic for everybody, and then you're breeding a situation of resentment. So if you're telling people, oh, you owe your daughter waist length hair, everybody is not going to have waist length hair. It just is what it is, for various different reasons. You know what I mean? Is a lot of different reasons why most people, and people in general, don't inherently need waist length hair. So it was just an odd thing, and that gave projection, but I did understand the point of what she was trying to say. And then also, when you phrase it like that, and you're putting that expectation out there, okay, you're gonna inevitably make the girls who don't have hair that's that long, you're gonna make them feel inadequate, or feel like their hair isn't healthy, when that doesn't necessarily mean that. You can have a nice pixie cut and have healthy hair, or be growing your hair back out from a big chop and it not be super long and it be healthy. Just hair being long does not make it healthy. And that's another thing I wanted to talk about too, because a lot of y'all are so fixated on the hair being long. A lot of y'all have fucked up hair, respectfully, and I'm not trying to be mean, but I'm just so sick of this rhetoric, because the reason why y'all are saying this is not because y'all genuinely care about other Black women and girls loving their hair and having healthy hair. It's because you want to flex that you have some proximity to non-Black standards of beauty, or something that's generally perceived as only attainable for non-Black women, and you want to flex on other Black women, because y'all not going to Mexicans and Ecuadorian girls talking about long hair and talking about who bald headed and who not. You know what I mean? Y'all only say that shit to other Black women. So that's my point. But yeah, so that's why I don't really have a lot of patience for these arguments, because people should be fried, dyed, laid to the side. Like, you working with one paintbrush, sitting around worried about whose hair is long and is not long. My hair is super thick. I've had to do with a lot of negative comments, textureism, being overcharged, shady comments, You know those long, thin makeup brushes they use to do liquid eyeliner? They be getting on the internet flexing one of those, bra strap length, all of 3 bristles, trying to flex, talking about long hair. And it's like, again, I don't like having to do the tit for tat shit. But the problem is that we know why you're doing the tit for tat shit. So it's like, like, people can tell when shit be fried, dyed, laid to the side, but you worried about it being long. It's just like the people who are worried about it being straight, but they not worried about it being healthy. So it's like, that's not a flex. That's a priority for you. And I respect that that's your priority and what you like and everything. But why are you trying to project what you see as important onto other people? Because that's not a flex for me. I don't think having 3 bristles and a kindergarten paintbrush ponytail that's down to my bra strap, I don't think that's a flex. I'd rather have long hair that's at my thick hair that's on my shoulders, and it be healthy, and me have a chemical free scalp. And not having dark and lovely seeping into my bloodstream through my skull. I'd rather be living like that than having my shit super long and I got, again, one paintbrush. Like, so, that's all I'm saying. But I see that a lot, and it's like, your T is clocked. Okay, maybe you could play them games with a bunch of people that's in middle school, but though people who know better, they know better. But yeah, a lot of the people who sit around obsessed over hair being long and things like that, that's a projection of how they feel, and they're trying to make other people feel as though that's important as well, when that's not even important to a lot of people. A lot of people just want their hair to be healthy. They don't care about length. And honestly, I don't think it's healthy for little girls under a certain age to be worried about length. I really don't. I think that adds undue stress. I think that adds undue pressure, when at that age you really just need to be learning to love yourself, not trying to like strive or achieve or anything. And that shouldn't be something you're focused on, and that shouldn't be something that they're hearing. Now, you do, again, as I've already said, owe your daughter healthy hair, but you do not owe your daughter long hair, and you should also assure your daughter that if her hair is not long, that is not what matters or makes it inherently healthy. What makes it inherently healthy is it being taken care of. And in the long run, when your hair is healthy, then you're going to have more flexibility with it, because you really can't even do a lot of those fun styles when your hair is super damaged or super thin. You can't really do wigs and weaves like that when your real hair is damaged. It makes it really difficult for yourself, for the stylist, to do those things. So it's overall just better in the long run, and you'll have more flexibility inevitably with your hair when it's healthy, and you'll feel better about yourself in general. So yeah, I again agree with the moral of what that speaker was trying to say, but I did kind of want to give pushback on some of the points she made. But again, in the comment section, let me know what y'all thought about this video, about my commentary, as well as the TikToker, and what is your experience with this topic as well. Thanks for all the support. Peace.